Have you ever felt like your physical symptoms weren't being fully acknowledged or addressed? Or wondered what the root cause of the symptoms you're experiencing are coming from? If so, I've been in the same exact shoes as you, and that is what has inspired a lot of the work I do today. It was honestly probably the scariest moment I've experienced in my life so far, only because I was scared, confused, and felt so lost and didn't feel like I was receiving the guidance that I needed. Now, looking back at that moment to where I am today, I had to go through that lived experience so that I could be in the shoes of what I now know millions of people experience on a day to day and normalize, even though it is far from being normal, let alone humanizing. At 19, I was experiencing these debilitating migraines nearly twice a week, crippling anxiety, and constant muscle tension that just wouldn't let up, and thought that this was my new normal until I dug deep and really started to explore the root cause for these symptoms, including chronic aches and pains that plague so many of us today. So for those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Dr. Angelica Alberto, and I'm an integrative physical therapist and lifestyle consultant based in Los Angeles, California. Today, I'm sharing with you all the story behind my unconventional path in healthcare, as well as the philosophies of what has inspired me to do the work that I do today and the way that I practice clinically, and ultimately what drove me to taking a leap of faith and starting my own practice. So let's get right into it. So at 19, some of you may have heard this story before, but if this is your first time meeting me and getting to know me, what I had experienced at 19 truly transformed the way that I experienced living. During this time, I was an exercise science major at Cal State Northridge because I was on track towards becoming a physical therapist. And at this time, I'm just going to paint the picture for you. I was juggling between 20 to 23 units going between Cal State Northridge to Glendale Community College and COC just to hit all of the different prerequisite courses that I needed to get into PT school, juggling 3 different jobs, which included being a part of a biomedical NIH-funded research program, and was simply trying to be as present as possible for my little sister, who was 7 years old at the time. And you can imagine how much pressure was on me to handle all of these different things that were on my plate. Eventually, I blew a fuse, which I then realized later on, my body was not having it with me. In 2017, this is when I really started to experience these debilitating migraines almost twice a week, which basically was this pain that was going up my neck into the base of my skull and into the back of my eyes. And it was such an excruciating pressure that could only be relieved through throwing up or sleeping it off. And obviously I went to the doctors, which was truly one of the most anticlimactic, unhelpful circumstances that I had throughout this experience. And once again, I'm disclaiming I'm not trying to bash on my colleagues. I'm simply sharing a very real experience that I had, and also validating many of the different experiences and narratives shared by my loved ones, colleagues, and patients that I now take care of. So anyway, in about a 15-minute session, no more. So she basically just asked me a couple questions about my family medical history, if I was stressed out at school or in general, and then eventually proceeded to prescribe me a beta blocker, which, for those of you who don't know, is typically prescribed to individuals with high blood pressure. And because she basically blamed it on the fact that I had a family history of high blood pressure and migraines, that was the reason why I was experiencing those symptoms. From this moment, I realized that I had to take my own health into my own hands because it seemed apparent no one in the conventional medical system could help me. I tried everything from researching, going on online forums, talking to my other family members who also experienced chronic migraines, who said, track your migraines and, monitor your triggers, cut out all things that could possibly be inflammatory, from caffeines to chocolates to processed sugars and all of the above, but still no change. Now, fast forward 3 years later, I eventually moved across the country to Chicago because that's where I ended up going to grad school, since they had the dual Doctor of Physical Therapy and Masters of Public Health program that I was so excited about. But you can imagine taking those together was a lot of stress. Hint, hint. Between moving across the country, living away from home for the first time, experiencing a Midwestern winter for the first time, that wind chill is no joke, and calibrating to the demands of grad school, I felt for the first time my health hitting a breaking point. And I knew that I needed help. I just didn't know what kind of help. And eventually I was talking to a colleague of mine who was saying I should talk to one of the mental health counselors on campus called CAPS, where they provide short-term free therapy. So I was like, cool, I have nothing to lose except be prescribed another medication. Which, once again, I disclaim there's a time and place for medication, but for what I was experiencing, it just was not helping. When I started going to therapy, I had such an aha moment and feeling of relief and liberation and feeling so seen, because it was the first time in my life that I understood what had been causing all of these symptoms that were manifesting in my body. And you might not believe it, but a big reason why I was experiencing this constant tension, these migraine headaches, was because I had no sense of ability to regulate my emotions. Everything was just so suppressed. I didn't know how to regulate stress in my body. So my body quite literally felt like it was under a state of fight or flight 24/7. So if you imagine on a physiological level what that does to your heart, what that does to your blood pressure, what that does to your muscles. So that experience really jump-started my passion for understanding the impact of how our emotions can really have such an interplay on the physiological symptoms we experience. And that is just one of the many different realizations that I had. I understood how chronic stress and unresolved and unprocessed emotions were impacting my body. And that realization became the foundation of the integrative work that I do today. This experience, it opened up my eyes to this whole other world of not only paying attention to our physical body when it comes to wellness, but actually understanding how much of a strong interplay our mental and emotional well-being also plays a role in our physical health. Once again, as I continue to explore this mind-body connection, this undeniable connection, I learned for the first time how detrimental things like chronic stress, having porous boundaries, physically, socially, and energetically, had not only on our mental well-being, but also on our physical well-being. I realized how disconnected I became from my body in this incessant pursuit towards excellence, striving for this fallacy of perfection in the eyes of the world around me, as opposed to living my life from what felt real and authentic to who I was inside, especially tuning into the subtle, silent symptoms that my body was trying to signal, yelling at me to try slowing down, to take a good quality rest day, to realizing that my body also told me when certain circumstances, environments, relationships, and friendships were no longer serving me and actually made me feel unsafe. And now understanding how all of this pent up emotional suppression and inauthenticity naturally manifested physiologically in my upper body because I was so tense in this forward flex posture trying to protect me. This very realization is what I can share with you all that truly helped me heal from my migraines, from the crippling anxiety that I was feeling, and the panic attacks that would quite literally wake me up in the morning. And now I can thankfully share with you all that I have not experienced a debilitating migraine like that in almost 3 years now. My anxiety is so much more under control and doesn't control my life And my body has never felt more regulated and connected and its healthiest than it's ever been compared to my 18-year-old self, which is pretty crazy. Through my personal healing journey, I discovered how deeply connected our mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual health is. And that undeniable interplay is how we need to start treating and taking care of ourselves and the world around us. This is what shifted my entire lens and viewpoint on patient care now. So I knew in my heart I had to learn how to combine physical therapy with integrative methods to addressing the whole person. From this point on, I felt a strong pull to share this experience with any of you who may be going through a similar experience, where you've gone to doctors and specialists and had all these different scans and blood works that all came back normal, thankfully, but you still don't feel your most vibrant and healthiest and optimal self, because I have been there. I was 19 years old and I was scared for my life about what was going on with me. And to feel that fear again, I wish that upon no one. And that is why I decided to share my story with you all. So fast forward, after working in hospital settings, outpatient clinics, private settings, cash-based clinics, I realized there was still this place that felt like I couldn't implement the way that I wanted to practice. And that is what really lit a fire under me to take a leap of faith and officially open up my own practice as of a little over a year ago from today. One where I can truly provide what I call the integrative physical therapy experience. Like anything I've ever seen and experienced clinically, as I mentioned, I've quite literally been in every traditional PT setting you can imagine, where I provide a one-on-one integrative experience that blends traditional physical therapy with lifestyle coaching to help patients really uncover the root causes of their pain and truly heal holistically. And I use that term very, very lightly because of how stigmatized it is today. I also like to consider myself kind of like a safari guide, helping you navigate the complex nature of what we consider our entire health and well-being, so you can understand how truly connected everything is. Honestly, it's something I wish I had at 19 when I felt scared, lost, and confused, wondering if I was dying or if I had a brain tumor, or simply having someone to assure me and make me feel seen and acknowledge my symptoms and what I was experiencing. For someone to go out of their way at 19 and be like, I see how much you're putting in and the hard work you are putting in every single day to make your dreams come true, but would it kill you to take a few deep breaths ever so often and take the pressure off of you and trust that everything's going to be okay? I feel like that would be life-changing, even in that small moment in time. This is what I believe is truly going to help others live their most vibrant and optimal quality of life, and I have thankfully been able to guide now hundreds of other patients through this very framework. And that is the story of what really motivates me to wake up in the morning and voraciously learn about the body and how we store so much psychosomatically that we don't even realize based off of our lived experiences, how unprocessed emotions and distorted thought patterns and limiting beliefs show up on us. The sooner we can come to this consensus, the more we can actually heal. If after listening to my story, any of this resonated, you feel called to connect with me, not just to work with me, but simply to understand what the next step in your life is, I invite you to book a free 30-minute discovery call with me on my website. The link is going to be dropped in the description below. You can also find tips and educational techniques and strategies on my Instagram, which is also linked below. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story and my passions. And if anything resonated with you, that it would truly mean so much for you to share any takeaways, insights, or anything else that you would like for me to talk about in future videos to come. Thanks, and until next time.